Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Okay, we got a good number of pre-submitted questions today. All right, so we'll start with I'm in. I see you here. Let me get my stuff in order, and I will get your question posted in the chat here. Boom, and I will give you the opportunity to speak. All right, I'm building a form that shows 2 reports within it. I'm using 2 advanced data grids for that purpose. I need to know how to pass values from the form user input as filters for the reports during runtime. So you're building like a custom filter. You're going to have to use active form flows to design something like this. Advanced data grid. I think you're probably better off if you can you're going to find this to be much more straightforward and work out of the box if you just use reports and pages instead of a form for this. So my first question would be, what makes you need to use a form? But if you are doing this, what you'd have is something like this. So here's advanced.
So to answer your question, I don't know if you can hear me or not.
I can, yes.
Yeah, so the reason why I need to do this is the user needs to select the criteria from drop-down menu boxes. Like there are 5 criteria fields.
Mm-hmm.
User is gonna select them from drop-down menus.
Mm-hmm.
And then this input is supposed to filter the report. So I'm not sure if I just created a regular report, I don't think the user can do this.
You could apply runtime filtering on reports.
I understand, but they are very specific that they want a particular design. They have it in mind, and like they have wireframes that they showed us, and we must follow this design.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of a form. At the top of the form, there are 5 fields to select the selection criteria for the report, and then based on those fields, the report will show data.
Yeah, I'd probably look at using something like a flow run part at the top with reports on the bottom instead of using a form with advanced data grids. There's steps here called send report parameter, no, filter change. Okay, I'm failing. Report, what is report going to give me? Send report parameter, right? Send report dashboard report parameter. I don't have a good screenshot of this, but there what you could do is have a page. Let's do this. You're going to find yourself in a bit like you can have reports here, and then if I delete this thing and I find on a page a flow run part,
okay,
I can put this here, and then what I would do is build a flow. Let me just quickly build a flow here. And then I'm going to put a form here, and then I'm going to find that parameter step and set dashboard parameter. And what I'm going to do is really quickly create a form. And on this form, I am going to put a button here and name it filter. And I'm just going to put a drop down list of string type here.
okay.
So this is like options. And then the type will be string. Great. And then what I'm going to do is pass this to here. And I'm going to set this up. My options are just going to be email addresses. I'm just going to put one in for now. And I'm going to make it do what, like a refresh? Sorry, there's a little bit of work here. Send refresh
No, that's fine. I really
for
appreciate it.
for folder by folder event. All right, so then I'm going to duplicate my tab. I need to create a I need to create a folder for this. So I'm going to come here and create a folder. This is all recorded as well, so you can walk back through this at a better pace. Just going to create a garbage folder here, and then I'm going to steal its folder ID. And then here, I'm going to do constant for folder ID, and dashboard parameter, I'm going to do constant for folder ID as well. And then I'm going to add a parameter here, and this is going to be email. I'm going to name this thing. You'll see some of the way this links up in a moment. Email address, and I'm going to take the value of email address from my form, which is not outputting. It's required. Selected options, maybe let's just see here. Let's try that again. Why? Where's my output data? Let me save this and come back. Let's try that again. Okay. Here we go. Wonderful. What is not working? String data name. Optional on filter. Selected options is the name. Let's save this and come back. Is selected options an output? It's not an output. There's selected options. Maybe it'll show up now. Okay, there's selected. Sorry, I don't know what's going on there.
Okay.
I'll walk back through this in just a sec. I'm going to save this all. Now I'm going to go quickly create a report here. I'm going to create a report of type account. And then account data source. And I'm going to add a couple fields, including email address, created on. And then I'm going to come here to filters, add. And I'm going to find a field filter, find email address equals. I'm going to say show all if null. And then the runtime behavior is going to be get values from other reports. And I'm going to change its filter name to be equal, exactly the same type and casing and spelling as that thing I just built in that other flow. So I can save this. I'll leave that other report empty for now. I can save this. I can come to my folder and I can manage page dashboard, add page dashboard, put some garbage text in, select my page, save this, and then somewhere I'll have a very ugly, so I should be able to filter this report now. So that form is overly large. I would recommend an approach similar to this to try to get what you're after here.
Okay.
There we go. Let's try to make this just a little bit easier to look at, because you're going to find it quite a lot of work.
It is.
This is a lot less work than it'll take you on the form to try to like add in custom filtering and things on the form. And then you could have different reports here and you'll get like, you'll get the behavior I think that you're after. And then yeah, go ahead.
Can I make the reports like on above each other instead of next to each other, instead of side by side?
The reports?
Yeah.
Yes, of course. They can be, they're just laid out in the page container as they are.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, you can lay them out on a page as you would on a form. Yes, absolutely.
And this would keep the view of the form on top of them at the top of the page. It will still be there, the combo boxes and the selected info. Right?
Yeah, correct. You can do all that. You just need to get it formatted a bit better than this very ugly version that I have here for you. Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right.
And then this can even be a dependent report on this report as well. You can still do all of these types of things. You'll find it quite difficult if you do it all on a form.
It is. That's
Yeah,
right.
it's you want to use pages for data viewing and forms for like interaction. So,
All right, great, thank you very much.
okay. All right, next up we have Manal. Is Manal here? I do see Manal. Is there any way to add validation that will check the other checkboxes if that particular checkbox is selected? For example, I have a checkbox named Camry. If someone selects Camry, the other 5 checkboxes get automatically selected. Yeah, you can absolutely do this with active form flows, Manal. You just like do a value, like just run the active form flow on value change on the checkbox. And if the value is, then check the value of that checkbox to see if it's true. And if it's true, run a bunch of set value or set form control steps. Following that? If that makes any sense. Oh, I should let you talk. I'm sorry. Forgive me. There you go. Now you can speak. So you're looking for like a dependent checkbox example?
Hello, Will. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
So I did try to create an active data flow. It's just I'm getting confused on how to set the values in.
Okay,
Like, for
sure.
example, I have like multiple, I have created rather than using a list, I created a separate checkbox. I think that would have been easier. So,
So just, let's see here. We'll create 2 checkboxes.
Mhm.
Checkbox 1, checkbox 2. Yeah, there you go. All right, and then I'm going to create an active form flow. Some garbage text. And what I'm going to do is do a true false rule. And I'm going to pass in the value of form data checkbox 1 value. And then if it's true, what I'm going to do is come to form rules, set control value. And here I'm going to select form data. It hasn't updated my name. This must be the second one, checkbox. And then the value, I'm going to set this to a constant of true and end. Otherwise, I'm going to just end. And then what I need to do is trigger this on value change for checkbox and run at startup. And then if I'm right and I save this and debug it, I can click checkbox 1 and it'll set checkbox 2 for me.
Gotcha. And I will do the same for multiples. For example, if I have 6, I will be just keep adding the set control value.
You'd have to just loop. You just have to add a bunch of set control value steps in sequence. That's right.
Okay, gotcha. That makes sense. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay. Yeah, you bet. All right, let me pull the next question out from Bill. Interested how to identify flows using a custom step. All right, Bill, just a moment here. Let me give you the opportunity to talk. All right, so we have a thing called the flow structure report. And the flow structure report will show you every step in every flow. It does require you to access the server to use it. It's not something in the database, but if you go to administration, system tools, flow management, and you click in the flow structure report, the flow structure report is going to provide you a list of all flows and all steps in all flows. Now it actually loads this up at runtime. It's not pulling anything out of the database. And then you can look at step types or maybe step names. I don't know that there would be a specific step type for a custom step. I don't have an example of a custom step that we could query with, but I'm sure if you know a flow that has one of these steps, so you could come to this report, you could filter on that flow name, find that flow step, and then work backwards to figure out if it's a step type or maybe a step ID or some other behavior, or maybe, no, that's probably not going to get it. Yeah, something like that. I bet step type is going to give you what you need. I'm just not sure what we actually put in as the step type for a custom step off the top of my head.
Okay, is that available on V6 as well?
Yes, this has been around for a long time, correct?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you bet. All right, here's one from Carl, but I don't see them. Here's one from Chris, and Chris, I do see you, sir. Let me get this in
Hello.
the chat. Hey, Chris. Let me see here. So the question is, can a subdialog flow close its parent form when it is completed?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the thing you're looking for here is an outcome rule. On a form, there is, let's see here. Create a form. It won't actually matter if it's a subdialog or not, but pick form, create new form. And then if I look at properties here, there are, we are looking for form outcome scenario. Ooh, it's been a while since I've messed with these. Are they under, they're under legacy now? Okay, this might be a little bit trickier. 1 second here. Let's find a subdialog button. And when we run this, here's a subdialog flow, and we'll show a form. And on change data, we're going to output, checkbox 1 value, type Boolean. And on our form, we will just add a button here that does nothing. Okay. And then we're going to just set this to be a constant value of true whenever we run this thing. Okay, and then let's steal this. And we will set our checkbox name to get its value from here. All right, so that should allow us to now set the checkbox when the subdialog flow runs. And then let me look in active form flows really quick and see if we have this or not. We might have to use an outcome rule for this. Form rule. Exit form. This we added this more recently. So if you don't, you might have exit form, in which case you could have a trigger be checking on the parent form, right? If that value is true or not, right? If the checkbox value is true.
Mm-hmm.
And then here, I'll just select from form data button. If you don't have this, then you can do this under legacy with an outcome rule. Don't run it startup.
Yeah, that
Don't
would
run
be,
it startup. And oh, you can actually trigger this on the subdialog flow. Ooh, maybe not that. Checkbox. Let's do value change on checkbox. I'm assuming there's a hidden checkbox maybe in this example. Okay, if I debug this, run, there's my form. Here's my subdialog flow. And if I click button, it doesn't like something there.
it
So this
says what
approach
you have
should
done
work.
is wrong.
Yeah, okay, get outcome scenario by name. It doesn't like that. Change data. Get outcome scenario by name. I don't know why that's not, this approach should work. I don't know why it's not. You could also, if you don't have that step, which might be newer, you could look under legacy and there are things called outcome rules here. And outcome rules will kind of be the same, but you'll put the path and you run a rule triggered on the value change. So basically we're leveraging the subdialog button is updating a value, which is probably hidden on the parent form. And then either an outcome rule or an active form flow is checking that value to determine if it should proceed the parent form further. That's kind of the hacky-ish approach that we're applying to do this. There's not like something in the subdialog flow itself that says progress forward.
All right.
Will is telling me that exit form is introduced in V7, so you guys should have access to this.
Okay. So was it just the outcome selection that prompted the error?
I don't know. Maybe I need to select outcome name here instead of the outcome. Let's try this. So debug start subdialog button. There you go. I guess that step exit form. Will you confirm will for me if the step specifies it needs that specific property or if it just in the step library article? Yeah, so I just had not selected deep enough into my exit form step. It needs to be the form data, outcome path name to work correctly.
So I could have hard coded that name sort of at my own risk, right? Probably would have worked.
I think so. Yes, that probably will work. I'm guessing there. I'm guessing, but yeah, I think that might work.
Not that I would recommend it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Anything else related to that one, sir?
No, that's simple enough.
Okay, I still don't see Carl on, and that's the next one. So let's go into the chat here. All right. Can we create a branch in repo from a zipped project? From a zip? No, you can only create a branch off of an existing branch. So you need to turn the zipped, whatever a zip project is, Vitaly, into a proper project on the repo server. You can always download projects as zips afterwards. But once you have a branch, you can create, once you have turned that export file into a proper repo project, you can then branch it at that point. Roth has got a question. Can we create a new login page? You can, but not through our designers. There's a little bit of custom code required. Let's see if we have this meaningfully documented today. There you go, login page customization. Let's see what that says. This is under administrators customization. Okay, so this is only showing you how to do the stuff that you can do that's built in. Barath, are you here? Let me allow you to speak. Login page settings, SDK custom login page. Yeah. So this is the doc I would recommend you looking at. You can set like the icon, you can confirm, you can hide and show some links and or enable multi-type authentication. If you need to do anything in addition to that, then you would have to go ahead and go down the route of a custom login page with the SDK.
So where do we do this custom code? Like in decisions platform, like where do we include this to get that custom login page created?
You would be writing this in like Visual Studio or some code editor.
Okay.
Right. And then you can see this doc walks you through a bit of the steps here about where to find the existing page, right, or the custom login controller. And then some steps to specify a custom login page.
Okay, will it be a different URL itself, or it will be same URL like what we are currently using?
It would be the same URL. It would replace the login page entirely, but not have anything to do with a URL. Whoever navigated to your decision server would see your custom page at that URL.
Okay, so like if I want to create a different login page for a different customer altogether, so will that be possible?
There are with multi-tenancy, you're able to do unique login pages with some work, but not with a standard server. So if you have any questions about that, please feel free to reach out to your customer success manager to understand more about if you have multi-tenancy or need access to it.
Okay. Can you provide this link to me? That will help.
I will be happy to put this into the chat really quickly. Yes. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else related to the login page?
No, thank you.
Okay, great. All right, so we got another question from Iman here. Okay, so I'm grouping a column and a report. I'd like to show count and sum. What you're looking for here is report subtotals. In fact, let's see here. Does subtotal give me any results? Ooh, that's unfortunate. Will, would you confirm while I'm looking for this if we show this anywhere in docs today? So here's advanced data grid. Here's my report. Now I'm going to group on email address. If I run this report right now, what I'm going to get is the groups with nothing. So what I want to do is come here to results, subtotals. And on subtotals, I'm going to add one. And I'm going to do one on the created by. Here's the display name, and I'm going to do a count. And I'm going to click OK. Now, when I run my report again, it's going to show me in the group headers those particular values that are in the subtotals.
This is very useful. It's the data that I need to see, or the data that that client needs to see. But is there another way to display it, like not as they are displayed right now in the meeting? Like columns, and then let's say it's email address without the column headers. So just admin and decisions, and then guest, and then in the same row, I need to see the count, and in another column next to it, I need to see the sum. Is there a way to do that?
You can use things called flow inline filters. There's under calculated columns, you can run a flow inline field. This flow will output a string value that would be the value of a property of a cell. Now, these can be very unperformant. There's lots of performance constraints here. That's one option that you could look at.
This inline field, I can send a parameter input, like the value of the first column, and then using that parameter, I can count or make calculations.
It actually has access to the whole report row here as fields. So you could access the text value of the first column, do some work, and then output something. Whatever you do here, you need to make sure that this doesn't work well for large reports, or that where large reports get accessed often, and really needs to be able to be something that can be cached. Because you can't, depending on what you're doing, there can be substantial performance implications here. It's probably better to do some of this work in a query and then have the query run your report, so that you can let SQL do that work on your behalf.
I'm very good with SQL, so I can run, like I can literally write the query that I need, but how to implement it in the report?
Yeah, there's a couple options. Probably the simplest way would just be to create a data type, database integration, add your query here.
Okay.
And then you would say, select star from.
Okay, I can group by, and I can add column count.
Yes, absolutely. Entity address. That's not a real count. That's not a real prop. That's not a real table. Entity account. Here's my test query. Oof. Query 1. Run it. And then if I come create a new report, that query now shows as a data source for my report. So if I search for, all right, I go to common, the connection the query is part of, and you can see my test query here, and then it's going to let me select that query as the source. Now, if you want to actually do a lot of filtering, you might want to make that query, write a query, turn that query into a view, and then integrate decisions with the view, so that you can still pass parameters and do other fetching off of that table. So you might add it as a view here, in which case decisions prompts you with the available views that are in that database you're connected to. Write a query, turn the query into a view, and then integrate with the view.
And while writing the query, I will add the selection criteria, the filters. I will write like at, and then the parameter name.
In this example, with the view-based example, you probably would want to not have it have any parameters. And then that way you can pass in the parameters from the previous example, where you could have field level parameters be sent in from the front end.
So the query will return the whole data set, and then within the report, I can add filters.
Yeah, but if the reason I'm saying view here is with the query they appear to behave the same, right? But we can't arbitrarily insert parameters into your query. We don't know what your query is. We just run your query.
That's
Right.
correct.
So what you do, but if you use a view, we can fetch from the view as if it's a table, and the query
Yeah.
runs the view. We fetch from the view if it's at a table. They both appear to be the same, but with the query-based data source, we actually run the whole query, get all of its results, and then we filter the results down on the server. Where
Yeah.
with a view-based design, we actually send, we append our request with those filters when we make the request from the review. So we only get back what we need. And so
Yeah.
the view-based design is much more performant than the query-based design.
So I fill the view with the query contents and then we filter the view. That's basically it, right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. Do all
Okay.
your joins and your subtotaling and grouping in the view, and then filter the view with the report.
Okay. Okay. But when I write the query that will return everything, this won't affect the performance.
It won't affect decisions because the view will be doing all of that work on your behalf, right?
Okay.
The SQL Server will be handling all of that. We can,
Okay.
with a view, we do paging and other things that we struggle to do with query-based data sources. We will only fetch 500 rows at a time, or we will only fetch the records that have email, that have a admin@decisions.com, so on and so forth.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you very much. I'm sorry. Just back to my initial question. You showed me how to do it using the page and add reports and add an inline flow. The approach that I initially used, the form with advanced data grids.
Yeah.
Do you not recommend this, but it will work with less performance, or this is not the way to do it?
This is not the way to do it.
Oh,
You need to, this other route leverages, like the advanced data grid is not the report designer. It does not page and handle large data sets as well as the report designer does.
right.
It is more, it is not meant to allow you to create a custom report designer. You can, but you will find that it is quite burdensome to do that.
Yes. Yes. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Go ahead, Bill. What you got?
Yeah, we actually, my question is this: if you got, let's say you have a very big data source, let's say 100,000 rows, right? And you have your view in the SQL Server, and you throw like the report designer, right? It will actually, I noticed it does some paging, but who does the paging? Does Decision do the paging?
Yes, Decisions sends a top request in when fetching from a view or a table.
So it fetches, let's say, the top 100, 500, right?
Correct.
And then when you click next, then it knows how to go to the next page?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, I see. Okay. That's
Now
all.
there are some things it doesn't it does some of the page 2 plus filtering on the server side. That's something we're working to fix. The initial request is absolutely paged in its request from the SQL Server.
But the initial load of the data, I'm only gonna get 500 rows, right? It's not gonna try to load 100,000 rows in memory and then try to do. Okay.
Right. With this
That's
query source though, it will, the query-based approach, it will load the whole thing and then filter it down.
We
That's the difference.
we actually use a custom data source, which is actually selecting off a view.
Right. Yes. Correct.
If the filtering is happening on the client, on the decisions, or the paging, or on the SQL Server.
Bill, I actually know about that scenario because I helped write that many years ago. We did all that work so that it would fetch from, it would filter on the SQL Server and not on the application server because of some significant performance issues.
And I can actually prove it by running, by watching what queries run, right?
You should be able to, absolutely, yes.
Okay, thanks, Will.
You bet, happy to help. Quick question, is there a way to clear fields on the form from a button? Not quick way, Manal, but you can run a bunch of set value steps to do the same thing. It's just, the question is what you're setting them to null or false, as opposed to checked or has value. But there's not a button that says clear all form fields. You could use the design, use the set form control steps, and then the appropriate values to flush all the values from all the form controls. There's no magic our silver bullet there. All right, question from Vitali. Had a weird issue. A converter flow that was used in a rule filter for report to get data started to fail with error. End step is not found. Flow had not been touched for 3 months. Created a copy of the flow and changed the rule, same issue. Debugging flow works fine. Update save doesn't help. Restart doesn't help. App version has not been changed. Any ideas how that happened? A converter flow that was used in a rule filter for report to get data. Not sure, Vitaly. No clue, but I probably need support's help to answer that one for you. End step not found. Yeah, don't know, man. Not sure. Maybe somebody else edited the converter flow, or maybe someone else edited the rule filter rule, right? To change one of those things without you changing it, and so it's caused an error when it's executed. I'm just guessing though. I don't really have any idea. Barath, in my current login page, below username password, I have a button called Octa. How do I remove the button if it's not required? You're gonna go to, you can control that in system settings, login page settings. And here, if you edit, you can turn on dual authentication and add in your providers here. So you can disable that in this login page setting piece here, Barath.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, this is where you configure the dual authentication options on the login page.
Okay.
Okay, great. That's all the current questions that we have. Anybody else got anything? Appreciate the good amount of questions this morning. Okay, looks like everyone's flown out. Last call for, oh, Nick is here. Let me see. I think one of the questions was from Nick. Sorry, just a moment. Nope, that was from Carl. Carl is not joined. Okay, apologies for that. Okay. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and call it then. Thanks everyone. Have a great day, great afternoon. And I'll see you same time tomorrow.